present a case of late infantile metachromatic leukodystrophy. A 2.5-year-old boy was presented to the OPD with regression of attained milestones since 1 year. History taking revealed he was apparently asymptomatic 1 year ago, after which he developed gait disturbances, then he was unable to walk without support. It progressed to difficulty in standing, followed by which he was unable to sit or even hold his neck. Initially, this weakness was associated with lax limbs, after which rigidity developed in the last few months. As the disease progressed, he was unable to speak disyllables first, followed by monosyllables, and lastly, he can't even now chew or swallow the food. He is a second male child from a second-degree consanguineous marriage. Developmental landmarks were normal up to 1.5 years of age, after which they regressed. He is on a liquid diet since the past 6 months. General examination and other systemic examinations are normal. CNS examinations revealed in undercranial nerves the eye movements were normal, but he has a weak smile, mastication, deglutition are impaired, and no other sensory anomalies seen. Motor examination showed in both the upper and lower limbs, tone was increased, power was decreased 2/5, deep tendon reflexes were 3+, that is more brisk than average. Babinski was outgoing positive on both the sides. The routine investigations were normal. Special investigations like urine for metachromatic granules was done, which with boriatic acid skip stain, which came out positive. Fundus examination revealed no cherry red spots. Next, MRI was done, which revealed periventricular white matter hyperintensities with typhoid pattern. Next, MRS was advised, after which came out with increased choline peak and decreased N-acetyl aspartate peak. MRI and MRS findings were suggestive of metachromatic leukodystrophy. Now coming to the differential diagnosis. No cherry red spots at the macula and presentation at 1.5 years, that is like way later than 3 to 6 months, we can eliminate first Tay-Sachs disease and Krabs leukodystrophy. The decreased N-acetyl aspartate peak eliminates Kahneman's disease and Parize's-Musbacher brain sclerosis. No progressive macrocephaly, no frontal predominance on the MRI, eliminates infantile Alexander's disease. As there were no signs and symptoms with adrenal insufficiency and the symptoms developed at 1.5 years and very much before than 4 years of age, adrenoleukodystrophy was also eliminated. Coming to a diagnosis of late infantile metachromatic leukodystrophy. Management. There is no treatment available for this disease. We can only manage it symptomatically with paracetamol, which was given for the mild pain, baclofen for the spasticity, and vitamin and zinc supplements for his nutrition. At the discharge, physiotherapy, speech therapy, and nutritional assistance was advised. Why is this case? Firstly, on a more ethical, emotional concept, to being given and taken from is worse than being never given at all. So the patient himself must be in such a mental distress with the parents being in distress. Then secondly, I came here to present this case for awareness among the doctors so that they can look out for the high-risk patients and advise them for genetic counseling so that they can do prenatal enzyme assays in the further conceivements. Then, if there are any other children, they can be looked out for the symptoms because the siblings can be manifested with other forms of the disease like juvenile and the adult forms. Then, if history is not taken properly by an inexperienced physician, he can diagnose it as a quadriplegia cerebral palsy initially. And then last but not the least, it's the rarity. It occurs only 1 in 1,60,000 people. Thank you.
Sayed, from a clinician's point of view, all this was only investigation. You never told me or you never told us what was the clinical diagnosis. This is all, see, when a patient comes to you, first, upfront, do you go for the rarest of rare disease upfront?
No.
Exactly. So he presented with some symptoms, which was quadriparesis, which was spastic. So you have a 4-tier diagnosis in neurology or in medicine you learn about it, or you're learning about it. So without that 4-tier diagnosis and what is thought upfront, proceeding in a case and presenting a rarer case is asking for trouble. So what is the 4-tier diagnosis? If you can tell me that, that's the end of the discussion.
Initially, they diagnosed it as a neurodegenerative disorder. First, started
that is an etiological diagnosis which you are telling. A neurodegenerative disorder is the etiology. You have a 4-tier diagnosis now. If functionally what was the problem,
Huh.
anatomically,
the-
physiologically, and etiologically.
The patient actually had gone to many other hospitals with his complaints. So,
I'm just asking you it from a clinical point of view. That is more important
Okay.
for you rather than doing a metachromatic
It-
U-shaped
it
EM
was
finding
a
a choline peak and a lactate.
quadriplegic spastic paralysis, quadriplegic spastic paralysis.
That is where you should have focused. Okay. Then cutting out all the other differentials based on MRI or is subsequent. First is in medicine, it is still the clinical. That's the gold standard. Okay.
You understood, no, what Dr. Khanna is trying to say is
Yes, sir.
that your differential diagnosis should start from the clinical diagnosis. You have to first give a clinical diagnosis and then give a differential. Here you are giving a list of differential and working backwards as to what is the diagnosis. You got it?
Yes, sir.
You might be aware of what happened, but when you present it, you must present it as if you are working towards a differential diagnosis from your primary clinical diagnosis.
It is as if
Not
that-
have a list and then say
Exactly.
it is this.
That the computer can also do. And it's quite apparent that you picked up this patient. So whenever you pick it up, fine, you pick the patient, but then you should be intelligent enough to go through it, through the sequence.
One more thing, can I just take a moment? Something very interesting, tigroid pattern on MRI. Can you just show that MRI film and tell us what is the tigroid pattern? It might come as an MCQ and you all appear for PG. Right? So just tell us where is the tigroid pattern.
Acha, can you tell me which is the sequence of MRI? You know the sequences of MRI? When you project a film, or you just
That is why I am asking you this
Huh.
question. You just went through the slide. You didn't even show this for even probably half a second.
Tiny.
So you should have shown it. If you are
MRI
showing me
was-
this, you should be
yeah.
able to tell
You
me
should
what.
design it around the scene because
Like these are the white matter hairpin densities we can see.
Where is
No,
the
no, it is-
tigroid pattern? Show me the tigroid pattern.
and you've taken it's not been put properly.
So when you all put a MRI like this, you must take the representative part only and magnify it and put it on a slide rather than put this entire
You see,
sequence.
you have put the T1 and T2 weightage images both together, and then you will have to tell that sequences kya tha. There was a T1 weighted sequence, a T2 weighted sequence. T1 mein this was seen, on T2 mein that was seen.
Take a snapshot of the relevant
The
part of the
relevant.
MRI. Right. So whenever you present, take a snapshot of the relevant part of it. And you should be able to point out tigroid pattern. Everybody thinks what is there. What is tigroid? Where is tigroid?
This here, sir, over here we can see some slight like grayish lines here in between the white patterns. It gives like a tiger left skin.
Yeah.
appearance.
So that's
Not
not clearly seen.
very
It
clear.
might have been clearly seen if you had magnified only that part. Then everybody goes home with one word.